Māori community behind. We have chosen to leave our Māori community behind, and I think we do feel that the day we leave New Zealand, we become adults and become responsible for ourselves. And so that's the start. You know, once you realize you are responsible for yourselves, then you just get up and go. And then of course we have Ngati Ranana, which offers that community, that whānau atmosphere where people can come and take reassurance, ask for advice, where to live, how to go about finding somewhere to live, how to go about finding jobs. All of that the whānau offers. Yes, and at the moment, you know, I was saying we meet in New Zealand House once a week, but it literally is just on a Wednesday night for a couple of hours. After that, we have no other premises anywhere, and so we do rely on New Zealand House a lot. And I must say, our present High Commissioner is tops. You know, he's our patron, as all High Commissioners are. But he's a very, very valuable, and he is coming home soon, so we're going to miss him. But then there will be another man in his place.
John.
Yes, thank you very much for the great job that you're doing at Wellington. I think that's very important. You're a great ambassador, and your group is a great ambassador for this country. But just a little bit about your personal background. How come you left this country over 50 years ago?
I was skipping that bit. Yes, well, I belong to the Ngati tribe, which is in the Bay of Plenty, and I grew up there. My father was English Scottish, and my mother was Māori from the iwi of Ngati, and I went to the Rotary native school, as it was called then, but they're called Māori schools now, and then went off to Gisborne High School, and while I was my last year at school, my father died, and so rather than carrying on with studies, I came home and spent a year at home with my mother, and we had a lot of iwi. We as Māori children had a lot of iwi support from our pakeke, our kaumātua kuia, and at that time the local men had rebuilt the church, and it was decided that as youngsters we would form a youth club to help raise funds to furnish the church. And so that year at home we did just that. We had all our adults teaching us action songs and poi, and we travelled around the East Coast with our little group. And so then when I went up to Auckland and was studying for radiography, I went to university part-time and met some other Māori students there, and that was our Māori club. And they were the ones who came to the boat to farewell me, and then the people on board heard them singing, and so we taught on the ship. And then when we got back to England, we carried on, and it's carried on from there. And I am sometimes asked, you know, why do I think it has carried on? There is a need for it, and it's a personal need, whatever each individual, whether you're Māori, non-Māori. When you arrive in England and in London and you hear about the club, people come along, and those contacts are still there. I come back now and I meet non-Māori people who were there with us 50 years ago, and the tears are just there. You know, it's just been such a wonderful happening in people's lives. Yes.
Yes, Esther, thank you also for the contribution. I was lucky enough to enjoy a bit of contact in the 80s. But my question is, you've given it all this time yourself. How many other founders or people have been involved for a long period of time? Is there many others that have seen the duration involvement that you have?
Yes, I think sadly, I have a sister but she is back here in England, in New Zealand, and she was one of the founding members. I mean, there were five Maoris who we knew one another when we started this. We used to meet at our flat in Putney, and it became known as Putney Park. and the five Māori, and the majority were non-Māori, of course. And during that first year, and we just sang and met for ourselves, and exchanged emails, because in those days, sorry, not emails, aerograms, they were called, so long ago, aerograms, because we had no emails, we had no Skype, no mobiles, no texts in those days. We had to rely on aerograms, and we had the telephone, of course, but we were told, please don't ring home, because it was so expensive, and we used to spend our time crying. And so, you know, our families used to say, well, you know, it costs too much money just to hear you crying. So it was resorted to the aerogram. And yeah, you know, and as I say now, a lot of people have passed on. But there are quite a few others more recently who, say, from the 80s, who still live in England, Maori people who still live in England. And we have our koro, our kaumātua was Hemi Wiramu, who was a returned soldier. And after the war, he remained in England because he'd found a beautiful London bride. And so he lived on in England. And very sadly, we lost him just at the beginning of 1999. Hemi Wiramu died. So no, so there aren't very many of my generation who are over there, but there are people back here, of course. And I mean, it's voluntary, and it does take up a lot of time. And people and Māori people, or people who belong to it, not just Māori people, but people who belong to club, hold a lot of people hold top jobs. A lot of them are working in New Zealand House and other areas, top jobs, but are still prepared to sacrifice their time. And often, if you look at the emails and you see the times that they were sent, quite often it's 1 o'clock, 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. Because that's the quiet time that people have come home from work and do what they have to do, and then get on with club matters. That's how important we feel Ngati Ranana is.
Any other questions? Lee?
Esther, I was fascinated by the idea of the kohanga there in the bottom of Haymarket. What are the numbers like, and how do you get on staffing a kohanga out?
Yes. Yeah, but that's a very good question, because we meet in New Zealand House again on a Saturday morning, and the kohanga is multinational. It's again because we have a Māori married to a Polish person, a Māori married to a Danish person, Māori married to, we're very pan world, I should say. And it's run by the parents, and some of the parents are teachers, and they have children of their own. But we run it, and again we have no funding. We have no funding from New Zealand. We raise money there for the running of the kohanga throughout the year, and it is quite difficult. But everyone cares so much about it that people put in their own time, their own money, and their own effort quite often. And the one big day that we have to raise funds for kohanga is at the last weekend in June, and that is a standing weekend. The last weekend in June we have a kohanga day out at Hinamihi, which is a Māori meeting house. It's the only meeting house outdoors in Europe. There are two others, but they're in museums. This one is an outdoor meeting house, and it's on the Clarendon estate, which is Lord Onslow's estate. Now, Lord Onslow was a Governor-General, I think, about 1920, 11 or 1920, round about there. And when he returned to England, they were looking for, or wanting to give him a koha, and he asked if he could buy this meeting house because it had been damaged by the Tarawera eruption, and it was covered in mud, and it was really, you know, just there. So he paid money for it, and they shipped it back to England. And sorry, I'm digressing a bit here. And it was during the war. There were 2 Maori soldiers who were recuperating on the Onslow estate, and they were walking around the lakeside, and they recognised the boathouse as being a wharenui. And they went closer and they asked one another, and they said, it is. And so they made inquiries, and yes, sure enough, it had been a meeting house here, wharenui. And so they said, well, you know, we're sorry, but that should not be on the lakeside. It should, it shouldn't be on the lakeside. And so they promptly moved it back up under a beautiful oak tree where it stands today. And of course, for a long time, she was quite a dilapidated house, looking rather lonely. But gradually, as more and more Māori came, and I had been told about it before I went to England by Mick Pendergrast, you know, who has done a lot of work for Māori here in museums and that. And he had said, now when you go to England, you must go down and pay your respects to Hinamihi, which I did. But gradually, as more Māori people came over and more people knew about it, and I mean, today she's looking really lovely. She's warm. She's not cold. We have functions there. We entertained the Olympic team there. We had a day there with the Olympic team, which was just beautiful. And groups of people are coming over all the time. People are coming, and they're taking copies of what she was like in her maiden days. And they're making carvings and bringing the carvings over, and we installed them. It's going on. And at the moment we have a couple from Rotorua, and Jim Schuster belongs to the Historic Houses Trust, and he's coming over more and more now, and working with us, and they're bringing knowledge, and we're providing the work. It's one fine house now. Yes. But to get back to kohanga, that's where we hold the day to raise funds for kohanga, and we have a hangi, and the tickets are sold beforehand, and it's £10 for a plate of hangi, and the tickets sell out in about 2 weeks. You know, it's incredible how, and that's just going to the public, to everybody who know about it. More and more people bring friends and relations, and that day is the one big day for collecting, raising funds for kohanga. But they do work on a shoestring. If they've got £2,000 in the bank, they think they're wealthy. And with that £2,000 they will then say, what can we do? We'll spend it on the children, and take the children for an outing for the day, and any books and things like that. We just rely on family and friends out of their own pockets sending the stuff over. It sounds as though I'm pushing a cause here, but maybe I am, and I didn't mean to be, but yes, you know, like Club, we're all voluntary, non-profit making people who care, including kohanga.
Thank you very much.
Oh.
Yeah. The Andrews sisters.
Yes. No reira e hoa mā, tēnā koutou katoa. Me he manu re awe, re tito oena, ki te awhi toti, nana aue aue, te tautahuri mai. Kia ora.
give the vote of thanks.
Yola kapam. We appreciated the way at the end as well. And Esther, it's always good as an expatriate when you go to a place that perhaps you're not familiar with, it's good to have a touch of home. And now, I'm not sure where your home is after 50 some odd years, but it's always good to have that draw back. And so thank you very much for your words. Thank you for answering our questions. And congratulations on the well-deserved rewards. Thank you, and club members, join me in thanking our speakers.